It's not been the best year, and with the continuing fallout of the pandemic and the impending issues of Brexit, getting relegated from the Premier League isn't particularly great. But I know one club who are in a pretty good position to bounce straight back, and I've got a plan to keep them there and secure them against any issues that may come. Yes, here we are. Hello and welcome to a brand new save on the channel Norwich City, bouncing back, a Brexit-Busting challenge. Can we get my local side Norwich City back into the Premier League and do it by only signing British and Irish players from here on out? I'm excited to get this started, finally managing Norwich on the channel. It's something I've wanted to do for a while, and to do it with this kind of challenge is something that I'm really looking forward to. If you're looking forward to it too, make sure you drop a like on this video and subscribe as well. And let's just get started. How exactly is this going to work? Well, we've been appointed as the Norwich manager. They of course have been relegated to the Championship after a pretty poor Premier League survival campaign, a pretty poor attempt at survival, but they are a club who find themselves in a very strong position on their return to the Championship. Decent sized stadium that's constantly sold out. Of course, we will have fans back in the ground in the game as they are in real life, but a bit more substantially so. Excellent training facilities and youth facilities. That is what really they spent the Premier League money on, rather than new players, and it's a squad that is actually pretty well placed to go back up. Obviously a lot of players have gone, some of the gems from the academy like Ben Godfrey and Jamal Lewis, but a lot of them are still here. Max Aaron's arguably the best of the bunch, still at the club, didn't move to Barcelona. That was one of the options. Todd Cantwell as well is still here, and some of the other guys who haven't come through the academy like Emi Buendia, Timo Pukki, also still on the books, which is very good to see indeed. Some interesting other additions as well, like Ben Gibson, Oliver Skip on loan from Spurs. It's going to be interesting, and I think we have a good chance of getting back up at the first time of asking. But of course we are doing this as a challenge, and Norwich I think really are ideal for that. All the things we've mentioned, the facilities, the squad that they've got already, well placed with the academy going forwards, and the club culture as well. They want to develop players from the youth system. We're definitely going to be doing that. Young players for the future, play possession football. We'll certainly give it a go, and the board do expect us to win promotion this season. But we have of course put that limitation on ourselves with who we can sign. What exactly are the rules we are working with here, and why are we doing it? Well, we'll start with why. Basically, we are of course having to experience at the end of this year of pandemic and everything like that, we will be leaving the European Union fully. We've already left, but we will be ending the transitional period. You may have seen the rules that have been announced for what's going to happen. They are of course in the game and have been predicted by the game for a number of years, and it's quite an interesting situation, quite a not great situation really, in the sense that all foreign players from the European Union and beyond will require a work permit. Your big names, your big stars, Erling Haaland for example, would have absolutely no issue getting a work permit, but a lot of other players, and a lot of players that would maybe join a club like Norwich, including some of the players that they've signed in the summer just gone, are players who probably won't get a work permit going forwards. So that is why we are taking the approach going forwards of only being able to sign British and Irish players. It will obviously mean we don't have to worry about work permits, but at the same time it is obviously limiting. There's not that many players in those 5 countries to choose from. There's also going to be a lot of competition for them. A lot of other sides are going to want them. They're going to mostly be coming from other teams in the same divisions as ours, and it's going to be difficult and expensive to maybe get the players that we really want. But that's part of the challenge. How well can we do? Can we get back to the Premier League, and can we stay there? Can we win it with such a restricted transfer policy? Now let's go through the rules specifically. Number 1, obviously we can only sign British and Irish players going forwards when it comes to transfers into the club. Number 2, all the players who we already have here, if we take a look at the squad, who are not British and Irish, well, that doesn't matter. They can be here for as long as they and we want them to be here. They can be here until the day they retire if they so wish. No issue whatsoever with that. Number 3, any players who come through the youth intake every year will also be exempt regardless of their nationality. If they begin with a nationality other than one of those main 5, and if they choose to represent a nation other than one of those 5 going forwards, that will not matter. Because they've come through our youth intake, they will be exempt from those restrictions. So those are the main rules, but how are they going to work in practice? Because nationality is quite a fluid thing, especially in the footballing world. And well, the best way I think to illustrate what we're going to do is to think about it in the form of 4 specific player examples. Now, obviously, if we wanted to sign a player like Harry Kane, he's got 45 caps for England, established England international, former Norwich City player, of course, didn't do particularly well in his loan spell with us. But if we wanted to sign Harry Kane, obviously, that's not an issue. He's English, established star, no one's going to question that. But there are some other players that kind of fall into grey areas, so let's clarify that as best as we can now. Example number 1, George Baldock. You may have seen in the news, mentioned on social media, and you may see in any save you've played so far this year, that George Baldock, who of course is English, George Baldock, who was born in Aylesbury, does also have a potential alternate nationality. He is, under FIFA rules, eligible to play for Greece, and quite often, every save I've done so far this year, he will very, very quickly declare for Greece. Understandably, he will almost certainly never get in the England squad. We have so many right backs, but he will get into the Greek squad. So, can we sign George Baldock? Well, I'm going to say yes. George Baldock and players like him who are English, they consider themselves English in real life, and they are at the start of the game, we will be able to sign them even if they change their nationality throughout the course of the game. So any player who is one of those nationalities right here, right now in the game, can be signed for the entire duration of the game. Okay, player 2, Wilfried Zaha. We've just said that George Baldock, even if he declares for Greece, we can still sign. Well, what about someone that did just that? Wilfried Zaha, of course, born in the Ivory Coast but raised in England and played one senior international game for England. It was only a friendly. He decided to change his representation to his birth nation of the Ivory Coast and has since won 10 caps for them. Well, I'm going to say, unlike George Baldock, because Wilfried Zaha has already declared and played for the Ivory Coast right at the start of the game, we can't sign Wilfried Zaha. Now, example 3, Giovanni Reina. Now, in the Chelsea save, if you watched that one, you may recall we actually signed him because he had his nationality down as English, and we didn't have to worry about getting a work permit. That was one of the reasons why we brought him in. Now, he, of course, is the son of Claudio Reina, former player in the Premier League for Manchester City and for Sunderland. He was born in Sunderland, which means he is eligible to be English. At the moment, in the game, he considers himself American, but unlike real life, he hasn't actually been capped by the USA yet. So theoretically, he could choose to declare for England. Can we sign him then if he declares for England, even though he starts off as American? I'm going to say yes, because he hasn't actually been capped in the game by America. If he now chooses to do what George Baldock is going to do with Greece, but instead declare for England, then we can still sign him. Unless he changes his mind and declares for America, if he decides to represent England going forwards, he will be eligible to be signed. And any other player who, whatever their real life situation, chooses to declare for one of the 5 nations that we're going to be signing players from, we can sign them. And our final example, Erling Haaland, is, of course, as you probably know, the son of Alf Inge Haaland. He was born in Leeds, but of course, he has represented Norway, already 2 caps at this point in the game. Clearly is happy playing for Norway and cannot represent anybody else. Can we sign Erling Haaland even though he was born in England? No. It's all a bit of a grey area. We'll, not worry about it too much. Basically, any player we sign will probably just be somebody who is considered by the game at the time to be British or Irish, but if examples like George Baldock, there might be some slight grey areas, but we're not worried about it too much. Right, enough waffle. We are taking charge of Norwich City, and we're going to do the best job we can. Now, tactically, I don't know what I'm doing really, so we're going to go with the one that more or less worked in the save with Chelsea, 4-3-3. We'll tweak a few things potentially if we need to. I think it will fit with the Norwich players quite well. Let's just do a quick pick just to see sort of what we're working with, some potential weaknesses in the squad we can look to improve in the transfer market. I mean, lots of new signings already in here, like Kintia, Sorensen, Oliver Skip, of course, on loan, Placheta, and then some established names like Pukki and Buendia, of course, Kenny McLean. Ben Gibson and Christoph Zimmerman, I think, could actually be an incredibly solid centre-back partnership. Gibson, of course, left-footed on loan from Burnley. Zimmerman is a player I really like on FM. He's always pretty reliable, although hopefully we can keep him fit. And Max Aarons, who may well also be the star. If we can keep hold of him, he's wanted by Palace and Newcastle. If we can keep him, then he could be really the linchpin of the side, of course. An academy graduate, we want to absolutely keep them. They're so vital when it comes to European squad registration. And of course Tim Krul in goal as well. Few injuries at the moment, but we've got quite, I think one of the biggest issues Norwich had in the Premier League was didn't have enough players, but that's clearly been addressed. A lot bigger squad for what's going to be a pretty hectic championship campaign. I think potential areas of weakness, centre-back is an issue for me. Grant Hanley doesn't exactly fill me with too much confidence. That might be somewhere we look to maybe strengthen if we can. Now, in terms of youth prospects, we've got a lot of first-team candidates, 5-star potential, 3 guys with 5-star potential. And speaking of centre-backs, Andrew Omabamadile, Irish youth international. Passing's not great, but otherwise could be quite good. But the 2 ones I want to really look at here, Josh Martin, who I think is looking fantastic. He's going to go straight into the first team. And of course, this man here, who really, if you've watched anything on the channel before, needs no introduction. He's not going out on loan. He is going to be a vital part of the first team this season. Adam Eder goes straight into the first team. Now we have an absolutely ridiculous number of friendlies scheduled. I'm going to probably cancel most of these because we don't want to be getting any pointless pre-season injuries. We have got a lot of football to play this year. The Championship obviously has quite a few games anyway, and they're all going to be a lot more congested together. It's going to be difficult, I think. Obviously, in real life, Norwich have started the season very, very well, and we're going to hopefully emulate that. All 3 of the relegated teams are tipped to be the top 3 this season. Financially speaking, we are in a very, very strong position. £88 million in the bank. Apparently, we're projected to fail FFP, which that's surely got to be a mistake, right? How on earth could we possibly be failing that? If we've made a £29.46 million loss, it's projected to be 21.2. How is it? We've got 88 million in the bank and we've made, that's got to be a mistake. Hopefully that will sort itself out. That makes very little sense whatsoever. Transfer budget, maybe we shouldn't be spending any money, but we've got £5 million in the bank, and in terms of spare wage budget, £10,000 is not much. Maybe we can get some cheap youngsters in or maybe some players out on loan from the Premier League potentially. Injury-wise, we're looking relatively good. Apart from Sam Byram, he is out for 5 to 6 months. So a right back is potentially the order of the day. Yeah, we've only really got Max Aarons and Sorensen who can kind of play there. So right back's probably going to be top of my shopping list, or at least loan list. And then we do have quite a few injury-prone players. Kenny McLean has 2 recurring injuries, apparently. So something to watch out for. Right, friendly's looking a lot nicer now. I need to sort out things like staff and so on. We have apparently one of the worst fitness coaches in the entire league. Hopefully we can sort that out. I'm very baffled by this. We've sold £50 million worth of players. How on earth can we be failing FFP? 40 million from Godfrey and Lewis, and we spent 8 million. That makes no sense whatsoever. We'll meet the players while we're here, and we make some promises. I don't want to make any promises right now. It's day 1. They're not very happy by that. Okay, well, let's make sure we go up via automatic promotion. They're thrilled by that. That's great. That's sorted them. And FA Cup, give a good account of ourselves. We're not really going to be focusing on that too much. Code of conduct, everyone absolutely loves it. Great to see that. That's gone broadly well, I suppose. We've had some bids already. Morris Leitner apparently is desperate to move on loan to Huddersfield, which I certainly find slightly confusing. He's always been a player that I've never really had too much time for. He's he's got some interesting attributes, but then not much necessarily to back it. We can see, passing flair, technique, they're all great, but a lot of the other mentals kind of questionable. I don't know, I quite like to keep him around. He's a good squad option, really. Don't really want to give him out to a rival. So players who potentially be interested in a transfer permanently or indeed on loan, Emil Smith-Rowe, the top name here. We could maybe get another winger in. There's a lot of the new guys in, Kieran Dow, Plachetta as well. We don't really need anyone maybe, but if he's not going to cost too much in terms of wages, it's an option. Sean Longstaff's apparently interested. I do like Sean Longstaff in the middle. That could make a bit of a difference. Certainly a lot of options anyway. This is even in the Championship. We've still got quite a lot of decent players interested, so that's not too bad. I think right back definitely the main area I want to look to strengthen given Sam Byram's injury, and then Martin Kelly potentially interested. Ethan Laird on loan from Man United could be a decent option. I'm not really sure. We'll have to see who we can pick up. Maybe some youngsters. I mean, Perry Ng from Crew. He's 24, so he's not exactly young, but a decent player who probably wouldn't cost that much money. Might be a sensible move. I will go away and think about that and show you if we do any more business next time. I'm terrified by this. This is going to haunt my dreams. How on earth are we failing FFP? Makes no sense. But anyway, hopefully next time we'll have some new signings. Hopefully next time the FFP will have sorted itself out. I will go through pre-season and then be back next time for the first couple of games of the Championship season, and not the Carabao Cup first round because I'm not too bothered about that one. But Huddersfield Preston, that's probably a good place to start things off. I'm actually saying that we're playing Bournemouth straight after we're playing Preston, so maybe actually we'll play the Huddersfield game and then come back for Preston Bournemouth. I don't know. We'll see. That will be next time, but thank you very much for watching. Leave a like if you're excited for the new save, for the challenge as well. Make sure you subscribe as well so you don't miss what happens in the rest of the save. Can we get back to the Premier League at the first time of asking? Hopefully we can. And how well can we do with this restricted transfer policy? How well can we do going forwards? How quickly can we get into Europe? Can we win the Premier League? Things like that. By limiting ourselves to these players, will we even when we get up to the Premier League, be able to attract enough players to strengthen the squad to even be able to stay up, given the fact that we're going to be sort of relying on the players that some of the more established Premier League sides don't want, and then other players from the Championship and lower divisions. And Scotland as well, don't forget them. The SPL's got quite a lot of decent players for us to potentially go and cherry pick. But that will be for the future. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you next time.